Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are featuring Marvel's Morph from the X-Men Age of Apocalypse line, which is a part of the Marvel Legends series by Hasbro. Okay, so the figure we're looking at here, Morph, is actually a pretty old figure. It came out way back in 2020. So the reason why we're looking at this figure now in 2022 is because I had this figure, or I have this figure already, but I had to sacrifice it to the customization gods because I was making a custom figure, so I had to pull some pieces from it. So this figure here is to replace the one that I ruined, and it's an alright figure. It's not the most memorable of characters because this version of Morph is from the Age of Apocalypse. I think fans are more fond of Morph as he appeared in the original X-Men animated series from the 90s that was on Fox Kids. So we have Morph here, and we're going to take a look at him just because. And on the bio it says, a natural mimic, Kevin Sidney transforms himself into any shape at will. Alright, let's get started. First off, great character artwork on the side and on the side. I believe this is illustrated by artist David Nakayama, I think. I might be wrong. Alright, let's get started with this. So this figure, it's alright. It's how Morph kind of looks like in the comic book, Age of Apocalypse. There's a lot of reuse on this figure. It seems like it was kind of like an easy do for Hasbro because it wasn't making use of a lot of whole new parts, I think, outside of just maybe the head. And this figure actually belongs to the it's one of the figures from the 7-part Build-A-Figure series. So if you collect all the figures in this wave, you get to make Sugar Man over here. He's the villain, or one of the villains from Age of Apocalypse. This is a really, really, really cool Build-A-Figure. Like, this Build-A-Figure alone warrants getting all of these figures in the set just to build this guy. It's a very unique character. It's a very hefty, large build, and it's great. I think it's an awesome. It's one of my favorite Build-A-Figures that they've done. All right, so here's the Build-A-Figure piece. It's one of Sugar Man's. I believe it's his right leg. Not much to write home about. And we have Morph, as he appeared in the Age of Apocalypse comic books way back when. Alright, so if my memory serves me right, which it doesn't all the time, I want to say Hasbro's making another version of Morph, but it's from the X-Men animated series, and I want to say that belongs to that Marvel Legends line where they're taking like certain key X-Men like Wolverine and Jubilee, and they're Art Deco. They're painted to look a little bit more as if they appear in a cartoon, so they kind of have like a cel-shaded look to them. And I want to say Morph belongs to that line. And it looks more like as he did in the cartoon. He's wearing the X-Men uniform with the leather jacket. This Morph, on the other hand, is a completely different beast than the animated version. And like I mentioned before, this figure seems like it was an easy win for Hasbro because it just made reuse of a lot of things. For one, as you can see, the base body, it's very generic. This is a body we've seen before. I want to say this is the same body that we saw. Alright, so part of this body, like minus the forearms and the lower legs, this is the body you've seen before, like on certain Spider-Man figures. You know, it even has that butterfly joint up here. The head, I believe, is a new sculpt. You know, this is Morph as he appeared in the comic book. He kind of has those X-Men classic-looking gloves and boots, as you can see right there. Let's get into focus. So Morph, he's a mimic. He can like change his shape, um, and that's why this version of the character his facial features are very vague. Well, that's kind of creepy. So you don't notice it right off the bat, but if you catch the light in a certain way, all of a sudden he develops a pupil on the inside of his eyes. Like from a distance, his eyes look completely like blank and white, as we see here, but if you tilt him at the right angle, all of a sudden an eyeball appears. It's really weird. It's really creepy. I'm not sure if that's intentional or if my figure's possessed. But yeah, it's a very generic figure. It's not necessarily an iconic character. Even in the Age of Apocalypse, he wasn't necessarily a standout character. I mean, the only thing that made him a standout was the fact that they took the idea of the animated character and introduced him into the comic book world. But, it's a different looking figure altogether, or character altogether. The body is something you've handled a dozen times already. His head rotates, looks down pretty far, looks up pretty far. Ab crunch mid-torso, so you can bend forward, you can arch back. And it sounds ratcheted. He has a butterfly joint. To be honest, I hate these butterfly joints. There's certain Spider-Man figures that have the same body and these butterfly joints, and I'm like jinxed or something, because on my Spider-Man figures, these joints are always stuck, and which results in me breaking them. Because if these joints are stuck, when you start moving them around, what eventually happens is that you tear the peg off the socket. But this one seems like it's all right. It's not an issue. And I want to see the Spider-Man figure that makes use of this torso is the pizza Spidey. That's the one that comes with the pizza. This is what fans have affectionately called it. So this guy's arm also rotates. They go out like this. Elbow bend. Double jointed elbows, but it doesn't bend all that far. I mean, it's all right, but the second joint up here doesn't fold in all the way. Articulated waist, legs kick up, legs kick out, about this much, not a whole lot, and swivel, articulated feet or ankles, and there's a boot cut. I want to say, I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say this might be Magneto's cape, but it feels a little bit smaller. I might be wrong on that, though. There's a socket here, there's a peg on the back, and it plugs in. Now, for me, the Marvel Legends, some of the capes work well with the figures. Other figures, the capes always seem to fight the figure. This is one of those cases where it doesn't want to cooperate completely. You put the cape on, it seems too big, and it kind of floats. So you have this large gap. Anytime you move the figure, the cape it just gets in the way. Like, even though I'm a bigger fan of hard goods capes as opposed to like a cloth cape, I do think in certain situations a cloth cape would be more acceptable. You don't get the detail as you do with a plastic cape, but at the same time, it allows you to like actually move the figure sometimes without it just feeling weird and clumsy, like, such is the case here. It doesn't fit well on this body. It's really gappy, and I don't know, it's just not a good fit. Overall, I think it's a decent figure. Don't pay more than retail for it. It's an older figure. Came out like 2 years ago. So if you can find this guy anywhere between like 12 to 15 bucks, I'd say go for it. But yeah, don't pay 20 bucks for it. It's not really worth it. Unless you're a big fan of the Age of Apocalypse or this character in general, or if you're really desperate and you need to build a figure piece. But you can often find build a figure pieces like in forums, through other collectors, or even on eBay. So yeah, solid figure. It's all right. I'd give it anywhere between a 6 to a 7. It looks like Morph, but it just seemed like a kind of like a lazy thing, an easy win for Hasbro. There wasn't a whole lot involved outside of creating a new head. You know, the cape's a little bit disappointing, and the characters is very bare, very generic. If you're a customizer, though, on the other hand, the body is a great body to build customs off of, especially since it's so bare, and you get the X-Men boots and gloves. So if you wanted to make another X-Men character or a new mutant, or if you wanted to make a younger version of Captain America, you know, this is a great body to work with. Alright, so let's wrap this video up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for your continued support. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. Alright, later.